Putin denounces Russia's Muslim Brotherhood. What do you think? Russian President Vladimir Putin has been in conflict with Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov, who has become Russia's de facto Muslim leader. This is related to the mortgage loan that Moscow extended to the loanee during their time in Ukraine. According to Surat Khabar Ruzha Kommerson, the decision of the government to impose sanctions on certain regions, including the Republic of Caucasus, including Chechnya, has been revoked. Other territories that are being considered for inclusion in order to reduce the subsidy gap include Ingushetia and Dagestan in the Caucasus of Russia, as well as Tuva in southern Siberia, which offers a lot of land for farming. Kremlin Mingarimkin Pezin Kepita Daradara Yang Boros Bawa Kimentarian Kwangan. Ruzha Tela Barusa at Karas Sapanjang Tahan Tentang Perlunya Minagakan Discipline Balanja D Simua Bidong Angaran, Macro Advisories Limited CEO Chris Weaver Mingatakan. Beberapa Walaya Selalu Mingambil Pazizi Bawa Marika Mimaliki Kapendingan Politik Khusus, Seperti Dagestan dan Chechnya, dan Mingdandalkan Kremlin Untuk Memblokir Kritik Atau Tindakan APA Pun Untuk Memoton Subsidi Dari Cabinet, said Newsweek's Selasa on November 28, 2023. Ini adalah pesan bagi Kremlin dan juga bagi daerah-daerah yang disebutkan, jika anda ingin disiplin anggaran maka berhentilah memberikan perlindungan pengecualian belanja ke daerah-daerah tersebut. Here we summarize last month's report. Russia can definitely meet its revenue target for 2024 and manage to pay its business taxes in full, including education and social security. According to Weaver, this procedure is carried out with a delay in the receipt of the pork payment that is less than expected until the first half of 2023, when the Russian federal government is in a masala bazaar that begins in July. Deficit pertinggahan tahan adalah 2.5% dari PDB, meskipun sejak saat itu harga ekspor minyak yang lebih tinggi, pengumpulan pajak yang lebih baik, dan devaluasi mata wang telah menjadikan anggaran berada dalam target deficit, tambahnya. In this situation, the Russian Ministry of Finance has been satisfying her demands for years with sanctions imposed on the Russian Federation's mercantile complex in order to support her business. The governor of the 8th Caucasus District has been ordered to announce the decision date until December 18, according to Kommerson. Menteri Kwangan, Anton Siluanov, sudah cukup tidak bisa tidur pada tahun ini dan mendorong setiap peluang untuk disiplin anggaran di semua bidang, Weaver told reporters. Now that the second winter has passed since Russia's invasion, the defeat of a months-long counteroffensive has cast a shadow over Ukraine. Temperatures in the east, where fighting is fierce, have dropped well below freezing, and thousands in southern Ukraine lost power over the weekend due to a severe snowstorm. President Volodymyr Zelensky's approval rating in Ukraine is showing signs of weakening, according to polls. As the days grow longer, so does the frustration with the progress that has stalled and the escalation of tensions between the government and the military. Assurances of support from the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, are beginning to falter as ministers gather in Brussels. War predictions that were once filled with optimism about defeating Kremlin forces have given way to a somber acceptance that the conflict will likely drag on. When asked about her feelings, 34-year-old Kyiv nurse Natalia Kobyuk said, "I feel desperate." Her husband has been serving on the front lines since the invasion started 22 months ago. This year has been more challenging than last. There seems to be no resolution to the war, and there are moments when I just lose hope that it will ever end. The mental and emotional toll of the war is something that Zelensky is well aware of. Those in the know say the wartime leader, who uses his nightly TV addresses to connect with the people and boost morale, knows the public is worried about what's to come and wants to address their concerns. Later this month, following a Russian missile strike that killed 19 soldiers at an awards ceremony in southeastern Ukraine, Zelensky delivered an address in which he emphasized the significance of people realizing that their feelings are being acknowledged and that necessary changes will be implemented. The president has demanded an inquiry into the events surrounding the exposure of personnel to attack. The atmosphere has permeated Zelensky's backers. While his approval rating is still high at 76%, it has decreased from 91% during the war, according to the Kyiv International Institute of Sociology. According to Kyiv's director Volodymyr Paniato, the president's approval rating typically rises during times of war and then falls as patriotism wanes. According to another poll, just 25% of Ukrainians believe that differences of opinion should be set aside during times of war, down from 68% in May of last year. For Paniato, the rally around the flag effect is ending, an interview he gave. Further reading, Putin seizes opportunity as Ukraine fights for arms and attention. This gloomy forecast is in stark contrast to the much more optimistic one from a year ago. As a result of Russian troop withdrawals and redeployments, Ukrainian forces gained ground near Kiev, in the northeastern Kharkiv region, and Kherson in the south, all the way to the Dnieper River, by December 2022. This gave the impression that the counteroffensive this year could achieve even more. However, since its launch in June, the campaign has been unable to break through the heavily fortified Russian positions that extend from the eastern Donbass region all the way to the Black Sea's Nakhchivan mouth. In 2023, the counteroffensive reclaimed less than 1% of the land, which is equivalent to 260 square kilometers, 100 square miles. In contrast to the summer, when military officials in Kiev hinted at a breakthrough in the southern region of Zaporizhia, Russian troops are now pushing eastward toward Avdiivka, which is occupied by Ukraine. It would be even more discouraging if we lost that match. Adding to the already gloomy outlook for the upcoming winter months is the ongoing fury over corruption, which continues to rank high on the list of grievances voiced by Ukrainians, and the fear of conscription due to a shortage of manpower at the front. Overheated expectations surrounding the counteroffensive are due to the escalating tensions, according to Mariana Tkalik, a psychology professor and head of the Social Research Center Rating Lab. Defeatingly demotivating, according to Tkalik. People still choose to fight as a coping strategy, so resilience is strong, on the one hand, and irritation and disappointment on the other. On the global stage, however, the situation in Ukraine has become more complex. The beginning of the Israel-Hamas conflict has thwarted Zelensky's attempts to gain non-Western allies in order to force Vladimir Putin into negotiations. The crisis in the Middle East diverted attention away from a meeting last month in Malta that aimed to advance Kiev's peace plan. By mid-November, the Ukrainian leader had claimed that the counteroffensive had been further undermined due to the delayed delivery of much-needed artillery shells caused by the change in emphasis. But among some Ukrainians, the long-rejected idea of giving up territory in exchange for peace is starting to gain traction. Foreign ministers from the North Atlantic Treaty Organization will meet on Tuesday and Wednesday to discuss Ukraine. Allies are expected to reaffirm their support, despite worries that aid is beginning to diminish. While NATO is working to highlight Ukraine's progress toward membership, a formal invitation is still a long way off while the war drags on. The people living in the country can only wait for the next round of drone and missile attacks, which will target the power grid. Despite Russia's largest loitering munitions barrage to date, the Kiev region was the primary target of 74 out of 75 Shahed 131/136 drones that Ukraine's air defense claimed to have shot down. In response to a surge in heating demand, national grid operator NPC Ukrenergo has issued a warning, advising residents to turn off overhead lights, do laundry at night, and not use multiple appliances at once on their energy consumption. The 52-year-old Lviv designer and media consultant Serhiy Petrovsky concurred that anticipation of the counteroffensive was a little overstated. Internal chaos and strife is now the biggest fear, he stated. At the moment, the most pressing concern is that the country may lose Western support, and the public is understandably worried about this.